Hello everybody, Merry Christmas. And it's time for another Doctor Who review. This time is a review of the second Matt Smith Christmas special. The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe. Okay, there's no television companion for these reviews, so I'm just going to do a quick plot synopsis of the story. So the Doctor ends up on a spaceship flying above Earth and ends up destroying it. Unfortunately, though, he doesn't manage to escape in time and has to grab an escape spacesuit, flying towards Earth down into the atmosphere. Madge Arwell is cycling back home and hears a crash in a field. She finds the Doctor with his helmet put on the wrong way round and helps him find the TARDIS and escape. This is in 1938. And in 1941, he comes back, claims to be a caretaker, and ends up giving a magical adventure for Madge's two children. Madge and the children are going to a big house for Christmas, and Madge is playing that her husband will be coming home. Unfortunately, her husband, Reg, has been lost in a plane accident, and she wants to make Christmas special for the kids before she tells them their father has passed. The Doctor becomes the caretaker of the house and ends up making a fantastical room for the kids, including with hammocks, and then also a special present which seems to have dimensions where you can crawl into it into another world. The youngest child, Cyril, decides to go and explore late at night after hearing noises from the box. He then lands in a snowy forest landscape very akin to Narnia and follows a creature that seems to have come out of a bauble that's grown from one of the trees. This creature happens to be a wooden vessel, and after the Doctor, Cyril's sister, and Madge all end up in the same world, they end up coming to an observation tower where there is a king and a queen. It seems that the planet Adrazani Major is about to be acid rained, and all the life forces are needing a vessel to escape. The Doctor volunteers, but isn't strong enough, and it finds that Madge is strong enough to hold all the life forces, and they manage to travel back home via the escape pod that's on the top of the observational tower. As it turns out, Reg is thought of as one of the reasons for getting back home, and he ends up finding a light to getting home. It seems that Reg has arrived at Christmas morning at the house, and the family are reunited. The Doctor is then advised by Madge to go and find some family, and he ends up knocking on the door of Amy and Rory's. They'd be waiting for him, setting a place for him for the past 2 Christmases, and invite him in for Christmas dinner. So there we are, there's the plot synopsis for The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, written by Stephen Moffat. Let's go through some of the main cast and have a quick chat about them, and good bits and bad bits of the production itself. So we start off with, of course, the Doctor, played by Matt Smith. And this really is showing a kind of more childish side to the Doctor this time round, with his love for kiddie things and things like that. The way he was trying to be a magical magician caretaker for the kids is really lovely. It's interesting because you've got Arthur Darvill and Karen Gillan who are quite tall. It's amazing how tall Matt Smith actually is, because against Claire Skinner and some of the other cast, he's massive. But it's really quite cool seeing that element of it. But he's the very zany 11th Doctor. It's certainly a man who's very settled in his role now. And there's enough to go on here for the Doctor to actually play up to his idiosyncrasies and have a laugh, which is effectively what he does in this one. It's really quite nice. I like the way that the Doctor is using, the sonic screwdriver quite a bit. How the Doctor's reliance on the technology is overriding things a little bit here. And I like the way that the Doctor's written here. I mean, it's a very comfortable write by this point by Stephen Moffat. He knows the 11th Doctor well. He's written for 11th Doctor a number of times. It's just like it slips in, and it does work for that. It's a fun little adventure because of that, because you've got that kind of fun, light-heartedness you need for a Christmas story in some respects. We'll then go on to the guest cast. We have Claire Skinner playing Madge. She's kooky. She's an adult and she cares for her kids, but she has a kind of childish outlook to her. She's very kooky. Takes the Doctor's TARDIS at face value at the end. She does seem to take things quite well. I love the fact that Madge tries to play off the fact when they see the workers that she meets, she plays on the emotional side and gets gets them on side a little bit, which is quite fun. I quite like that, and it shows that she's got that kind of childlike, playful quality and manipulation that you see in some of these things. It's quite nice to see, and I quite like the way it's been portrayed here. It's a lovely character. You can tell it's a very maternal character, but you also get the sense that she feels a bit overwhelmed. She just lost her husband, and she's struggling to come to terms with the fact of trying to make the kids' Christmas the best ever, but also that kind of underlying sadness that's in there. And it comes to a heartbreaking moment when it realises that, you know, she tries to broach near the end of the kids that their father had passed on, but actually, as it turns out, he'd survived by that point. But it's just that emotional crutch that's in there that works really well. Two child roles. We've got Cyril, played by Maurice Cole. He's very inquisitive. He's a bit stiff. I don't know if that's just the way the acting's going or the way he acts, but it's a bit stiff for a early 2010s child in television. It's more akin to an acting you get from kids in the 80s and 90s in TV shows. He's inquisitive enough. He's just a wee boy, effectively, following these footprints he finds in the snow for this wooden character, this wooden king that we find. It's quite fun, and he plays it quite nicely. It's a nice little role for Cyril, very inquisitive. We've then got Lily, played by Holly Earl. Interesting fact with Holly Earl, she was 17, 18 when she did this, so she was playing a kind of young teenager, but she's obviously a lot older. So she comes across as somebody who's like the big older sister who's trying to look after their brother, and also has that slight teenage angst as well at times when she gets frustrated at the doctor when she's kind of sceptical of him initially when he's fiddling about fixing a wardrobe up in the attic space of the big house. I think it's played very well and played with good intentions, and I think Holly Earl does a very good job here of playing a great little sisterly role, which works quite well. We've got Bill Bailey, who plays Proxel, the leader of the expedition of the workers. It's a cameo for cameo's sake, same with Alabel Weir's Billis. It's a cameo for cameo's sake. You could have had any sort of actors in there and it would have worked because it's such a small role. They're effectively there as a kind of exposition point, really, to give the next part of the plot with the acid rain and the destruction of the forest, which is interesting. And the fact that it's Androzani Major, which is an interesting factor, because Androzani Major is only seen once in the TV series before in the case of Androzani, where all the machinations of the government are going on. Androzani Minor is where Sharish Jek is. So it's nice to see another part of that, and it's a planet that actually has different elements to it. It's nice to see. But it's a throwaway moment, it's a throwaway line, and throwaway characters, them two, really. And then we've got Reg, played by Alexander Armstrong. Reg is fine. It's maybe just a reward for Alexander Armstrong for his work in the Sarah Jane Adventures to get him in there as a wee cameo, effectively a wee cameo role. As the husband of Madge. But here's the emotional anchor point that's needed for Madge to work better for this. So he works okay for this. And I would say they're probably more guest stars than anything else. But you've got Karen Gill and Arthur Darvill at the end playing Amy and Rory, respectively. Very much the relationship you know of Amy and Rory. There's not really much to say. Amy is very dismissive of the doctor. I love the fact she's got water pistols because always kids for Christmas. It's very grumpy Amy. I quite like that. And then we've got Rory as well, who's playing the "oh, you're here, are you?" and trying to be just as funny, and Amy shooting him down, that kind of meek Rory that we like. It's interesting, it's fun, but it's not, it's just a wee appearance at the end just to establish that the Doctor's back in contact with Amy and Rory after the events of the previous couple of episodes. So it's nice to see. It's not the biggest cameo, it just kind of ties it up and gives that kind of family thing. And it's a nice touch from the 11th Doctor at the end with his crying at the end. And it's not a water pistol that's actually crying, and I think that's quite cool. I quite like that. Okay, let's go into the writing. It's lightweight from Stephen Moffat. There's nice little elements there, but you do get the sense that a 45-minute runtime, he's just writing another episode with just a Christmas theme. It has to be lightweight because obviously it's the time of year. You don't want really a heavy story because you want something light just to keep people going. It works in that, it does what it needs to do, but it's not as good as The Christmas Carol in regards to the storyline and everything else. And he is trying to put an influence, but maybe not as heavily this time in another children's story. And I suppose The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe is seen a little bit as a kind of Christmassy story, because that tends to be Lucy in the original story goes in the wardrobe into a snowy forest. So there's kind of that Christmassy element, and that's where the main Narnia influence comes from, the magic door element. So there's not really technically a wardrobe, he's just used that as a title to entice you in. The Doctor's fixing a wardrobe at one point, but it's not a wardrobe they go through, it's a box. It's a Christmas present box. But it's an interesting take on it, but it's definitely a unique story. It's not based any beats or anything from, say, A Christmas Carol like it was the year before, or The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe. It definitely is its own story. It takes a couple of elements that are familiar from that story, but it doesn't put them on too much. It's just a case of, it's the entry point, but it's not the main part. So I think the title is slightly misleading, but Stephen Moffat has a habit of doing that with some of his titles, especially in season 6. I think the direction by Corin Blackburn is quite solid. It needs to be kind of light and free-flowing and allowing the actors to kind of breathe a little bit and get their roles in here, and it's a bit talky, but I think it's down to the fact of trying to make it with as worthwhile for the effects and the budget, but also in a way that gives a story of heart, and it does give a story of heart, and it's directed in a way that gives a story of heart. I love the way the direction and cinematography works of this. It's really beautiful. It works in HD. It's one of these ones where it does work in HD, the whole shooting of it and the photography, and the direction is solid enough. It's more a character-based direction. It's not really got much in the way of action in that respect. You got the sequence at the beginning, but it's mostly character-based, and that's where its strengths are, to be fair. And the music from Murray Gold, it complements it. You do get I Am the Doctor coming in, bounding in near the end, but that's effectively the music for the 11th Doctor that's used more and more in season 7. And this is where Murray Gold starts to grate a little bit with some of his musical scores in this era at this point. But ultimately, it is a very comfortable score. It doesn't really detract much from what's happening in the story or the situation. And yeah, I think the music is fine in this one. Overall, I like this story. It's a fun, take your brain out sort of story. It has a bit of substance to it, and it has a nice emotional message, but it's not one of the greatest Christmas specials ever. And for that, I'm going to give it a rating of 3.5 TARDISes out of 5. Okay, let's see how that story stacks up with the rest of the Matt Smith era, and also how it stacks up with the rest of the TV stories I've done as well. The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe sits in with 5 other stories rated 3.5 TARDISes out of 5 in the 11th Doctor's era. They are Amy's Choice, The Pandorica Opens, The Big Bang, The Crimson Horror, A Christmas Carol, and The Hungry Earth, Cold Blood. The lowest rated stories of 11th Doctor's era so far are all rated 3 TARDISes out of 5. They are The Name of the Doctor, Nightmare in Silver, Hyde, The Power of 3, and Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. The highest rated 11th Doctor story is The Day of the Doctor, with 4.5 TARDISes out of 5. Overall, there are still 2 TV stories rated 2.5 TARDISes out of 5. They are Time Lash and Sleep No More, and alongside The Day of the Doctor with 4.5 TARDISes out of 5, there are 6 other stories: The Happiness Patrol, Inferno, The Caves of Androzani, The Tomb of the Cybermen, Dalek, and The End of Time. That's it. Thanks very much, guys, for watching. What did you think of The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe? Leave a comment down below. Did you like it? Leave a comment down below. Were you not so keen? Leave a comment down below. If you like this video, please like it, share it with the hashtag teamstructor. Also hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell so you know when a new video comes out. General rule, every video comes out every second Sunday at 4 PM GMT, but it is December. I have one more video for December, so next week we have a Kidstructor, the Christmas version, of course. Hopefully you can join me for that. If you have set things up to go away already and you see this afterwards, I hope you had a good Christmas. If you see this beforehand, Merry Christmas, a peaceful New Year, and yeah, I will see you very soon. Until next time, guys, thanks so much for watching, and you know what? I'll see you later.